Good morning, everybody. This is John Joshi from NYSERDA. I'm the Director in Financing Solutions. Welcome to the NYSERDA PON 5456 orientation webinar. We're going to be covering the details in the PON as detailed on the type of activity this will support. Just some housekeeping issues. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the NYSERDA website later on for future reference. You should have an access to this deck that we're presenting from. We'll have a Q&A process, but we'll answer all the questions at the end of the later part of the presentation. You can submit your questions through the chat, and we'll have that available for me to review and provide the answers this morning. Again, this is the PON covering NYSERDA's webinar covering NYSERDA's PON 5456 State Energy Financing Fund. The goal for this webinar is to give you some basic background details in approaching the PON and the application. Next slide, please. So just for background, there are various acronyms that we do refer to in the document. Just to give you an orientation to those acronyms, LPO in this case is the DOE Loan Program Office. NYSERDA, if you are not aware of it, is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. SEPI is the term that we've worked with DOE to coin. It stands for State Energy Financing Institutions. And the fund, the PON 5456, is under our State Energy Financing Fund. You will see references to CLCPA, which stands for the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which is designed to have equitable participation with disadvantaged communities. That leads us to DAC, which stands for the New York Disadvantaged Communities. FS stands for Financing Solution, and FSD, in this case, Financing Solution Director. Next slide, please. So a quick summary on the SEPI PON program. This has come through a multi-year discussions with the LPO and the DOE folks to design a structure that can support broadly at the state level. This authority was given under the Infrastructure Fund, and with the Murkowski Amendment, this allowed state energy financing institutions to participate in a transaction that is guaranteed by the Loan Program Office or funded by the Loan Program Office that allows for a innovation waiver. So the infrastructure law exempts projects from requirements to have innovative technology, which is usually has been the case. And this allows more broadly distributed generation and other types of technologies to be deployed using the LPO guarantee. The goal of the SEPI program is to have broader uptake across the states, so states can participate and work with local projects and a broader distributed platform. Entities like state green banks and other qualifying entities qualify as a SEPI, and NYSERDA has gotten approval that we are a qualifying SEPI that can participate in a structure that you may present to LPO for guarantee. This allows you to get the innovation waiver. Next slide, please. So this is a very busy slide, but in a nutshell, under the LPO SEPI approach, and we'll show you some links to that if you haven't seen that. LPO SEPI technologies are on the left area of the slide. That covers a much broader scope than what our PON, in this particular PON, is qualifying. And so you can see that it's covering larger, broader scale of technologies. But PON 5456 eligible technologies are on the right. It's covering areas under the renewable energy system, grid benefits for the built environment, efficient end-use technologies, district thermal energy projects. This is a very important area for us, and we're looking to support that. Electrification of the transport sector as it intersects with the built environment. So we're looking to see what innovative ideas are presented for that type of solution. Grid impact as it optimizes virtual power plants and supports the decarbonization of the built environment. And then we're open to decarbonization projects that impact the built environment. We may not have listed it directly um, in this list of supported technologies, but the way the PON is designed, we are asking for proposals as you're engaged with the LPO office, and those proposals can outline various other approaches that qualify potentially under the impact of built environment. Next slide, please. So just some key terms. This PON has been earmarked initially with $20 million of funding, and with the goal that it's going to impact the built environment and disadvantaged communities. The application process for the PON is on a rolling basis, and it was open as of early September, and will continue to stay open until all funds are exhausted. We do reserve the right to increase funding in a future date if we see the opportunity that this is having a broad impact across the board. One of the key things that we do support is a multi-state portfolio for CEFI support. What does that mean? That means that the PON is not simply supporting New York solutions. It will support solutions across the US, but with a minimum requirement for impact for New York State. And that's a key thing because a lot of firms, a lot of entities that are going to be doing distributed generation and other solutions have business footprints across the US or across the Northeast or various different segmentation. We will support those programs as well. Keep in mind that the awards from the CEFI PON are contingent on going through the LPO process, and once the LPO office has provided you with an award acknowledgement that they are supporting your project, at that point the structure can be approved under the CEFI PON 5456. One key other driver that we negotiated with the LPO for over the time was what is considered meaningful risk support coming in as it's defined under the Markowski Amendment for CEFI PONs, for CEFI support. And our formula is the lesser of 5 million or 3% of the proposed portfolio amount. This is what we consider a meaningful support on a credit basis. The way the structure works, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of slides, the CEFI support coming from NYSERDA is considered basically an investment into the structure, and we'll talk about where we can fit into the capital stack. We do have strong reporting requirements in the PON, and those need to fit our CLCPA DAC requirements by number and or dollar amount of investments that are going to into New York as well. And applicants to the LPO office will also have requirements under Justice 40. From our understanding, if you're for the New York component, you only need to adhere to New York CLCPA DAC requirements, and LPO will work with you to make sure that that's aligned with their needs as well as far as their reporting requirements under Justice 40. Next slide, please. So just a quick application process discussion. Hold on for a sec. One key threshold issue for us, as we've already discussed it, is CLCPA support and alignment with our state policy and initiatives. So we're going to be looking at applications to understand what is the strategy and approach that applicants are looking at to support equitable access into DAC communities and supporting our mandates under the CLCPA. So that's a threshold criteria that you need to be aware of and understand. How do we get started with the CEFI PON application? Review the program documentation that's on our PON page. There's some links included in this presentation, and this deck will be available on our website. Or you can, in fact, Google NYSERDA CEFI PON, and that should lead you to the PON landing page, and you can get additional details there as well. Develop your proposal, right? And that proposal is aligned with what you're proposing to the LPO office. We're not trying to increase the workload, and what we're trying to do is you'll do a comprehensive proposal to the LPO office in terms of the technology, the geographics, and what you're trying to do, being mindful that if you're looking for NYSERDA CEFI support, you need to have a minimum portfolio concentration for New York. That proposal, the documentation, the approaches, the financial models, what you share with LPO can be shared with NYSERDA, and that will go through that process. So get all your material together, submit that through our portal as a proposal for CEFI support, and then we can review that, go through our credit review process and provide you with feedback. And there is a process, and we'll discuss that in the next couple of slides, what the state of your application would be as it goes through our process. Next slide, please. So we talked about the capital stack and where we come in. We look at the CEFI as a combination of an investment support within the structure, right? So CEFI in this context for the 5456 NYSERDA support, we can be subordinated in the capital stack. We can provide even a loan loss reserve within the respect to the junior portion of the capital stack. We can be co-lending pari passu or as a sub debt, right? So we can be in various part of the capital stack, and that's something that you can include in your proposal, and that will be subject to negotiations as to see what that structure is, what the technology that you're proposing, and what are the limits on the approach. The eligibility criteria, obviously, you're applying to the LPO office for a loan guarantee. That gets you to a point where you can then apply to the, with New York as well. There's no limitation from our side to which firms can apply, as long as you're qualifying to apply to LPO under the loan program office, you can qualify through that for NYSERDA's PON support, and that's really how we designed it. Keep it broad enough, and provide you with the CEFI waiver approach that can lead to low-cost capital broadly available, and given where the market conditions are, I think that's the distinct opportunity here. Next slide, please. So this is just, again, a little bit more detail. you should be, as you're thinking about the LPO approach, that means you're discussing with LPO in the pre-application process, what does 1703 program support look like? Um, that is, that's prior to a level one application that you would put into LPO. That gives you an opportunity to discuss your program, your ideas, your business solutions, the type of structure you're thinking about. LPO spends a good amount of time walking you through that before you even commit additional resources and time and material to the application. And so that process, if you've started that process and then you've already have either sent in the level one application, at that point you can apply for the PON, having submitted your proof, or if you've already completed your level one and you're submitting level two or have submitted level two, you can start at that point. All of this is now then subject to NYSERDA credit review as well. We will review the same or similar material. Most of the material will be overlapping in that context, and the criterion that we discussed earlier. This will give you that opportunity, and our approval process is only firm once you have gotten your firm commitment after the level two application for DOE has been approved, and a commitment to fund has been granted by the LPO office. So that's at that point, any contingent NYSERDA CEFI support then becomes effective, but you don't have to wait till you're done with all that. You can submit yours application at the time of the level one application submitted and or completed. Next slide, please. Again, we talked about portfolio distribution, and this is a quick snapshot. So we're looking for any structures that we support. We're looking for either the 20% of the applicant facility, the portfolio would be New York invested or New York projects, and that could be on a numerical basis or a dollar basis. And we do that because a lot of projects in the DAC communities can be smaller in dollar size, so numerical can have provide better insight into that, or a minimum of 20 times the CEFI capital investment, right? So depending on the size of your structure, you could choose either approach and indicate that when you're submitting your application. We can have a further discussion about that. Next slide, please. So these are just some links. I'm sure most folks are aware of that. As I mentioned, the NYSERDA CEFI PON page, that's the link to that PON page. It has additional details. It even has additional resources on a lending toolkit, details on the PON itself. The PON is self-contained, about 16, 18 pages. All the terms and conditions are defined there. The material that we covered in this webinar basically comes from the PON or comes from anything that was posted by the Department of Energy. You may want to familiarize yourself with the LPO's state energy financing supported CEFI projects. You'll see the list of technologies and other criterion qualifying entities, as well as the contact information for additional details. So I highly recommend that you review that. As far as our NYSERDA PON is concerned, there are direct contacts, myself and my counterpart Luis, that are the designated contacts for NYSERDA for any additional questions on, and then I'm the lead on projects coming or proposals coming in for feedback. Next slide, please. And there it is. There's our contact information. You can contact us at any time. It may even be easier for you to contact us by the email highlighted in yellow, cefifund@nyserda.ny.gov. myself or Luis would respond to that, and we can provide additional details. These are the only two designated contacts at NYSERDA related to PON 5456 information and Q&A. So I would recommend that you stick to that. With that, we can switch to Q&A. Let me just take a look at what questions have come in. Bear with me for a second. Having technology issues. Okay, looks like question was, is there a slide deck presentation coming? I think Ed, this is the slide deck presentation that we just shared. We'll have it available on our website, and that should provide you with details. Feel free to contact myself or Luis for additional details. What is the built environment? So our primary focus around this PON is building decarbonization, or so in built environment is buildings and impact of building and decarbonization broadly. So there's and if you think about that, pretty much everything touches the built environment, whether it is in context to buildings or the emissions arising from buildings, as well as broadly the infrastructure around buildings that are supporting that. So that can include a very broad mandate from there. So I think we've already answered what is the minimum New York State portfolio allocation. It's either a 20% of the portfolio or 20x times the investment of NYSERDA's support. That will be the minimum. Next question is, we will be applying to DOE financing under the category of CEFI supported projects, even though the NYSERDA process happened afterwards. Will we be provided? Yeah, so Dan, the process is, as I outlined in that slide prior, you should have already either it's simultaneously, if you've applied to the level 1 application, you can submit the same material to us for consideration. The CEFI approval, we would offer, and these details are in the PON, we would offer a contingent approval should it meet our criteria, but that contingent approval is only finalized after you've gone through the LPO process, and LPO has issued a letter of award that solidifies LPO support. At that point, our contingent support is effective. Will these slides be available? Yeah, they should be posted up on our NYSERDA PON website, 5456. I think, Nathan, we've already answered the question on leverage requirements with respect to portfolio allocation. If you have additional questions, just reach out to me on cefifund.ny.gov. We can follow up with that. Michael's got a question on DAC requirement threshold. Michael, you can reach out to CEFI Fund email, and I like to get additional details what you're asking on that on the DAC requirements. But the PON itself has links to the requirements embedded, as well as we can share additional data. James, would NYSERDA be willing to administer additional funds as part of the program with New York State? If I understood that question, are you saying if other states are participating and want NYSERDA to coordinate the CEFI, we could possibly consider that? And the 20x is calculated based on portfolio dollars and/or project number of projects. We're flexible on some of that methodology. Will NYSERDA deploy equity for the loan equity? We are planning, we are in the capital stack, predominantly in the subordinate debt and or pari passu to the senior and or a loan loss reserve. We have not planned on covering equity, the risk equity that, or the equity that's required in a LPO guarantee structure at 20%. There's a question on industrial decarbonization. Does New York State have a preference for industrial sectors? Cement, for example, cement, steel, agri-food, and others. Um, Ed, I don't have any specific guidance immediately, but we can have a discussion, and or if you can give us some more details on your proposal. Uh, if this is not supported through this PON, our New York Green Bank might be in a position to support additional SEFI type of structures down the road. There's a question here. If we're already progressing through DOE LPO Title 17 application, moving from Part 1 to Part 2, what would be the best process to reach out regarding SEFI PON with NYSERDA? Just email SEFI PON. Yeah, Eric, the best approach is reach out to us under the SEFI Fund email and or and have a quick discussion. But the PON is designed, let me just reiterate that the PON is designed to solicit proposals that could meet the criteria that is well defined in the PON. And to reduce the amount of work process, we're saying use the same material that you're using with the LPO office for a guarantee. That should be comprehensive. Just be mindful of the requirements, additional maybe some requirements that we've defined in there. That material can be shared with us on a rolling basis, and the proposals would be scored by our credit committee. We're always available. The two designated contacts are always available to answer questions and go through that process. Does the PON offer a resource link for searching for the most disadvantaged communities in the state? We do have some resources, but we are working on, and I think the CLCPA and some of the other resources on NYSERDA's website should link to those DAC communities. It should be relatively comprehensive. If you have trouble sourcing that, reach out to us, and then we'll put you in touch with the right team that can help you with that. You have an expected leverage amount from LPO for every dollar of NYSERDA support. So Brendan, that question is the same as concentration. So you could see that our minimum threshold leverage we're looking for is a 20x leverage of our contribution to the LPO as a SEFI support structure. Are utility scale projects eligible or only community residential? Does it matter if generated energy gets used on site or does the grid wholesale? Dan, we're looking for proposals in the PON, and the utility or the grid benefit structures, as long as they're benefiting the built environment, that is the definition we've provided. And larger scale utility like large scale renewable or offshore wind, those projects may be better suited for the New York Green Bank as they've just signed a memorandum with the LPO for funding. So that might be something that you may want to consider, but drop us an email and we can discuss it further. But grid benefits projects can be part of this approach. Are there minimum credit requirements for supported projects and off-takers? If this is referring, Nate, if this is referring to consumer, retail, residential, the definitions, the credit requirements would follow the LPO approach, because that will be done on a portfolio scoring, and the requirements on the advance rate will be subject to what the expected loss of that portfolio may be. So you may want to discuss with the LPO folks what you're thinking about. From our perspective, we're looking to open up markets where credit underwriting is not necessarily as much of an issue. But again, we're subject to what the LPO program will approve, and that's done on almost on a rating agency approach with a portfolio structure, and it will be rated as a portfolio by a rating agency. Next question is understood on New York State exposure and CLCPA support for DAC communities within New York. That's appreciate that. Sorry, that was not a question. That was just more of a comment. I think if there aren't any other questions, we'll keep it open for my team can tell me what else we want to do. I think we're done, maybe.
Yeah, why don't we give it a minute to see if anybody has any more questions after, processing some of the answers that you just gave.
Sure.
But otherwise, I think, you have covered everything.
So if Kelly, if you can put back the contact information for myself and Luis, I think that will be very helpful on the slide deck, if that's possible. Otherwise, I think everybody probably took a snapshot of that already. I think we're done with questions. Again, that's the contact information from myself and Luis. Feel free to reach out. We have practically daily conversations with folks that are looking at the CEFI approach. We are absolutely open for business. And my key phrase is always, well, I guess borrowed from, I don't know which movie, but we're with the government. We're here to help you. We want to get a lot of decarbonization capital flowing through the U.S., and we want that impact in New York, and we want that impact at the DAC communities, and we want to help you access the markets. So feel free to reach out to us, and thank you very much for joining us today.